Priya, because of that snowfall in D.C., where Sam was, everything today was pushed back a little bit. So what will we see in about 30 minutes?
That's right, Anna. So in about 30 minutes, we will see the final departure ceremony from here at the Carter Center. So much of the former president's legacy has to do with what he accomplished from this building, the humanitarian work he did around the world. And we're going to see those military body bearers taking his casket from here at the Carter Center, where he had been lying in repose for the past several days, and bring it to Dobbins Air Reserve Base, where it will then make its way to Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland. At that point, it will be transferred to a motorcade processional and brought over to the Navy Memorial for a brief moment of silence, and then transferred over to a horse-drawn carriage where it'll eventually make its way to the Capitol Rotunda. At that point, at around 4:30 this afternoon, there'll be a ceremony with the vice president and lawmakers. And at around 7 p.m. this evening, there will be public visitation in the Capitol Rotunda until midnight tonight. And of course, it'll reopen again to the public tomorrow at 7 a.m. And he will lie in state in the Capitol Rotunda until the national funeral service, which is scheduled to take place at 10 a.m. on Thursday in Washington's National Cathedral. Anna,
I know you sat down with President Carter's family. Priya, what have they told you about this sad but surely proud moment for them?
Yeah, Anna, it's really been an incredible couple days here in Georgia. Thousands of people, as you mentioned, coming out to pay their respects to the late president. Of course, he was the only president from the state of Georgia, so there's just a sense of pride here. And I got a chance to speak with Jason Carter, his grandson, and he said that he was so touched to see all the people that had lined that route as the motorcade processional was making its way from Plains here to Atlanta. But I asked him, how do you think the former president would want to be remembered and what he would want his legacy to be? Take a listen.
I think he would want to be remembered as someone who believed in human rights because he loved people, because his faith calls on him to understand each and every person as someone created in the image of God. And therefore, how do we celebrate that person? How do we ensure they have, clothes, housing, appropriate health care? How do we ensure that those people have access to basic human rights, the ability to make their own decisions in their own lives? And he did what he could in this world with the platform that he had to expand those human rights as far as he could take them.
And, Anna, obviously the former president had been in hospice care for quite a while. So I spoke with Jason about how they were kind of preparing for all of this. And he said that when he had spoken to the former president, he had said that in lieu of flowers, really what he wanted people to do to sort of honor his legacy and remember him was to perform acts of service to humanity. And we've really sort of felt that over the past several days. So many people, I got a chance to go in there today, and strangers were holding hands and comforting one another. It was really just a beautiful thing to see, Anna.
Priya Sridhar, thank you so much for bringing that to all of us. Jonathan, first, just your reaction to the farewell we're seeing there in Georgia and the thousands of people who have come out to pay their respects.
This is quite overwhelming, and I think part of it has to do with the timing of it. There's a longing in our society for doing better and helping other people. And Carter's life is a masterclass in doing all you can for as long as you can for as many people as you can. That's the Methodist faith of Rosalind Carter, but Jimmy Carter as well lived that. And this idea that we need to do whatever we can. In his case, he was leveraging the presidency and his stature as a global humanitarian, getting up every day trying to figure out how he could help people. So for the rest of us, we're not going to do it every day. But maybe Jimmy Carter can inspire us by his example as a true moral exemplar to do more than we're doing now.
Well, he clearly is somebody who had a calling, and he poured his heart and soul into fulfilling it, and in this case, so many different ways, making the world a better place. As we move to Washington with this next phase of the funeral services, this large state funeral that's going to happen over the course of the next couple of days, the final national memorial service will be at the cathedral on Thursday. You mentioned you may not see as big of a crowd turning out in Washington because he wasn't a Washington kind of guy.
That's right. He was only there for 4 years as president, very much of an outsider, didn't like the whole Georgetown dinner party thing. It actually caused him some problems by not being part of that Washington establishment. But he had great regard for the city of Washington and trying to lift up that city. And he made a point of sending Amy Carter, his daughter, to Thaddeus Stevens School, a public school in Washington, when most other presidents send their children to private school. And then he also, at one point, he called up Cher, who at that time was married to his good friend Greg Allman. And he always asked his staff, call her Mrs. Allman, which I thought was interesting.
When the world knows her as Cher.
But this was when she was at the peak of her fame in the 1970s. And he calls her up and said, Cher, say something nice about the city of Washington. And because he thought she could use her stature to help poor people in that city. And so I don't know how many will turn out. I don't think they'll get 23,000 the way they did in Atlanta. But I do think there is still a lot of good feeling about Jimmy Carter in the Washington area, and a lot of younger people who maybe they don't remember some of the shortcomings of his presidency. They're inspired by his example. They know this was an epic American life. And it'll be interesting to see who turns out for this viewing. I think it may continue to surprise us because he has turned into such an inspirational figure.